Hello, my name is Clarke. This is the first lecture in a series of online lectures covering information and communication in healthcare. This is lecture M6.2, Information and Communication in Healthcare 1. And this lecture applies to students in the foundation year in Dublin, Bahrain and Penang. The learning outcomes for this lecture are as follows: to understand how professional identities are influenced by the use of online media, and in particular, social media. To understand the relationship between personal online identity and professional online identity. And also to understand the social media policy within RCSI. I'm fully aware that this has been broadcast to Penang and Bahrain, but this information is supplied for reference nonetheless, because it has implications upon all students' professional identity. So, all through this course, in particular through this lecture, I'd like you to think about your place in this place we call cyberspace. Where do you fit? What do you say about yourself? How do you project yourself onto the internet? What is your online identity? How many email accounts have you got? Do you use Snapchat, Instagram, WhatsApp, all those? What services do you use? Have you ever tried to search for yourself online? What have you found? How do you control what is broadcast about you online? So think about that while you're going through this first lecture. This graphic really sums up what's going on online right now. Of course, the minute it was produced, it was out of date. But as you can see, there are vast amounts of information being generated every second, globally. If you're a Twitter user, you can see 300 plus new accounts every second, nearly 100,000 tweets every second, all of which can be accessed publicly. Twitter is not a private conversation. You know that, but if you tweet something, it can be attributed to you. More video than we could ever have time to watch. More Facebook updates we could ever read, and so on. It's a very, very busy space. And think about this from your own perspective, as I said at the start of the lecture. How many email accounts do you have? 1, 2, 3. Some students have told me they have 8 and 9. And the issue there for me is, do you read all 6, 7, 8, 9 email accounts? Can you read all of these? And now you're faced with as you start your studies, you get another email account from the organisation. Do you tweet? Do you watch YouTube? Everybody watches YouTube. Increasingly, YouTube is becoming a search engine. People are looking at it to find out how to do things. And I suspect, as is the case here in Dublin, Facebook use is diminishing rapidly amongst your age group in your class. But whatever you're doing, is it too much information? Do you have an issue getting on top of on top of all the information, where it's coming from, what to do about it? And here is an actual sign from a street in New York telling people to pay attention while they're walking. And we've all bumped into people who've been on their smartphones while they're walking down the street. And we've all, in fact, I've done it, I've bumped into people. So we're being distracted. So what do you say about yourself online? What do you post? Why do you post it? These questions we could debate endlessly. There are so many permutations. Your sporting life, your personal life, your academic life, your hobbies, whatever it may be, your personal beliefs. You may post lots and lots of this information. You could be in a community of people who share a hobby, a pursuit, whatever it may be. There's so much information about you out there, which you have control of, we hope. But think of it like this. Ask yourself, you look at YouTube, but do you make YouTube videos? Predominantly, when I ask a class this question, the answer is no. People don't make YouTube videos. Some people do, but very few. Do you edit Wikipedia? And again, we use it, but very, very few of us edit it. Do you have a website? Do you edit that? Maybe a few more people. But again, not huge amounts. And do we blog? We were all told everybody would be blogging a few years ago. It just didn't come to pass. And take a look at some of these figures here. These are users online over a 5-year period. So there we were, in and around 200 million, and it is flying up here to around over 500 million people. Vast amounts, vast increase over 5 years. And if we look at the number of Wikipedia articles, huge increase from maybe 10 million up to 30 million and growing. Massive increase in content. But look, active Wikipedia editors. So we have our 80,000. Spike there for some reason, I don't know why. And in actual fact, between July 2010 and July 2013, the number of Wikipedia editors has actually decreased. So while we consume, not very many of the population actually produce information online. We produce a lot of messages and we produce a lot of social conversation, but we don't produce an awful lot of hard, reliable, if you like, information. So, are you an editor or a creator? Probably the answer would be you'd fit into the you're not. We produce a lot of content, though, nonetheless. As I said, we post messages, comments, pictures, whatever it may be. But no matter what form it takes, content is content. The information goes somewhere, is stored somewhere, is attributed to you. And we could say that you live in this space, connected, always on, available, broadcasting. But within that, you have an identity. There you are as an individual. This is your identity as a person. But if we draw a wider circle around this, in the terms of professional identity as a student in the organisation, you also have an identity which is linked directly to the institution. You now are a student of the medical school. When you come in, when you agreed, when you took the place, your professional identity changed. And within that network, the places you live, the places you go, the people you interact with, your community, your professional identity is formed and people relate to it in this wider context. So while you are still you, of course, you are a student of this college and one day to be a graduate, and you will work with this professional identity in the wider community. So you have yourself, your friends, your family, your surroundings, your interests, your habits, your hobbies, whatever it may be. And you may make these direct links online to this activity. You may express yourself on social media. It's easy. Just pick up the phone, jump on the laptop. But you may not make this broadcast this information in a considered fashion. You might think about it too much when you do it, because it's just something we all do very quickly. And I in no way wish to sound patronising, but we all must realise that online activity produces some kind of evidence. It's not all private, we know this. Everything you do leaves this exhaust, if you like fumes coming from the back of a car. It goes off into the atmosphere, very difficult to trap it back again. And do not forget, through all of your studies, that as you approach your graduation and your professional practice, when you encounter patients, they will definitely Google your name. They'll want to know, what can the internet tell me about this person? Also, increasingly, almost as standard, when you make a job application, they have to be assessed and graded some way. And part of that, organisations will employ professional groups to investigate social media profiles and online presences. And that means you. So there's clearly something that you need to consider as you become or are a professional medical student. And we have the personal you, who knows what this person is looking at. It looks a little scary. And the professional you. But the two can exist together. But you need to be aware that what's personal and what's professional. Take a look at this article. It's for reference only in Moodle. I don't expect students to read it and understand it 100%, but I would appreciate if you could read it and get an idea of what's going on. It is from a journal called Medical Education, and the study looked at privacy, professionalism and Facebook, a dilemma for young doctors. I would argue that the word Facebook could be replaced with Twitter or any other social media service. So, the study aimed to examine the nature and extent of the use of social networking service Facebook by young medical graduates and their utilisation of the privacy settings. So we can take it that a lot of people in this study were using Facebook. What the study shows, young doctors use it, but a quarter of the respondents did not use privacy options. So while they were very active users, they didn't actively set or look at or review, because they changed quite a lot, the privacy settings. So this led to situations, and remember, this is a research paper, this is evidenced, where these young doctors had revealed personal information that might cause distress to patients or alter the professional boundary between patient and practitioner, as well as information that could bring the profession into disrepute, which is extremely important. Not only are you part of a bigger professional identity, you have responsibilities within that profession. And think about this, because it's a broadcast, obviously I can't ask for input, but have you ever posted anything online that you yourself have regretted later? And I think the answer to that is probably we all have, or a lot of us will admit to it. Not all of us will admit to it, excuse me. And some of us definitely haven't, but it's more common. And the results of this study, 11% said they posted something, but it didn't really cause any issue. 3%, yes, it ruined my marriage or relationship. Oh dear, that sounds quite serious. It caused problems at home or work. And 15% said, yes, but I was able to get rid of it. And if we look at this 9% here of the study, that has serious implications for the individuals involved. So it's not something we can ignore. You're used to this, I'm sure, from your previous schooling, to think before you post online. And a lot of the cases that we're fired by emotion, we have some emotional response, or we don't think something is right and we should respond to it. There's no hurry, I would say. Very often, because you can't say things out loud or people can't hear the tone in your voice, it can be misinterpreted. So always think before you jump on the internet and make a comment. But as I say, this is something you're very used to anyway. So what we're looking to develop is this notion of social me. Yes, you exist in this space. You use tools to further your own social life, your contact with your friends, your family, your hobbies, whatever it might be, and how you use these services professionally. And they should coexist to some degree. While this is a screen grab from the Dublin virtual learning environment, part of what you've done when you join the organisation is to click agree to the policy. And that is your legal requirement to be part of what happens in this organisation. This is your gateway into professionalism. And ultimately, your responsibility will lie with this poor unfortunate person, which I assume is an actor, but where we're coming from is that your responsibility lies with this person, the patient. Again, I'm conscious that students in Bahrain and Penang will be reading this, and what I have uploaded to Moodle is the Irish Medical Organisation. It's a position paper on social media, their recommendations. Students can take a quick look at this. I think it has relevancy for the medical profession everywhere, not just in Ireland, because really what we're looking at is some common sense. And here's another more direct document from the General Medical Council in the UK. Doctors' use of social media. And it gives some very, I think, common sense advice. You must treat colleagues fairly and with respect. Who would disagree with that? Nobody would disagree with that. But there are very specific recommendations, and it's not that you're governed by the General Medical Council in any way, shape or form in Bahrain or Penang. But as I say, there are some common sense, and I would like all students to read that document. As I say, it will be in Moodle. So let's just look at this very broadly in the Irish Medical Organisation's position document. There's quite a bit in here, but I'm just going to go through some of the points. And again, I hope you can see the common sense or just general rules that are applied here. And if we take a look at this, avoid adding or accepting your patients and their relatives into social networks. That's difficult. Should you be a friend on a social network with one of your patients? You have to be careful. Only accept people that you trust. Again, that has to be difficult. How do we know? Avoid posting content regarding patients. Avoid meaning never do it. No content on social networking sites should ever reference patients or their other specific case. That's just an absolute blanket rule. Nor should you be making reference to other people, being slanderous or being, we know this, we have to be nice, respect people. But in terms of being a medical professional, breaking patient confidentiality is one of the most important things you must uphold, or not to not do. So you must uphold their confidentiality. And here, very clearly, if any content you post leads to the identification of a patient without their consent, it's a breach of confidentiality, which is a disciplinary issue. And we go back here, we set the last point. Ensure that you have the appropriate settings on your account, which is, it pretty much gets back to the previous study. Always bear in mind the limitations of such settings. And I would also add that these settings change from time to time. So pay attention when you hear about these things. Moving on a little bit, it says, if you're unhappy with the content that appears about yourself online, do something about it. Take action. You can do something. You must protect your own identity. If you're concerned about something, get in touch with a member of staff here or in your own medical school. Get in touch with the person who organises the website. Do something. Don't just sit there and hope it'll go away, because it won't. Also, if you see something about a colleague or a classmate, you need to tell them that you've seen it. You need to make them aware. And one thing you can do is now and again, search for yourself. See what's out there. See if anything's been published. You're probably pretty much aware of what you've done. Why wouldn't you be? But just put your name in, maybe the name of the town you're from or the name of the medical school, whatever it is. Try a couple of different search strategies and see what comes up. And at the bottom line here, give very serious consideration to how you present online content, particularly if you're discussing professional matters, if you're discussing your class, your teaching methods, wherever it may be. The minute you press the return button or the send button, it's out there and it's very difficult to rope it back in. And for all the other reasons I mentioned, you may not be able to control it. So think. There's another PDF here available on Moodle. And I like this for a couple of reasons, but the title is quite, jumps up and grabs you. Social media and physicians' online identity crisis. And really where it's coming from, physicians are increasingly counted among Facebook's 1 billion and 500 million Twitter users and so forth and so on. But you come down to here, it says professional identity constitutes and is constituted by personal identity, perhaps as one of the many sub-identities or roles individuals might have, such as spouse, partner, and so on. So we can't separate your social identity with your professional identity. And I think this is really important. Your patient will probably expect you to have some kind of social media identity. You'll be a member of a club or a professional organisation. They will see you online. So it's a case of they need to see the correct you projected online. So I think it's a really good paper, a good place to start if you're considering your professional identity as you move into the early stages of your studies. So, in terms of your own professional identity, ask yourself, should I post this on social media, whatever it is? And that does not depend on whether the content is professional or personal. That's not the point. It just depends on whether it's appropriate. Whether the tone of the comment or the post is appropriate. So think about this. Is this a good thing to say out loud? So, the solution is not to eliminate these boundaries and suggest that anything goes. We need to be aware of the boundaries between professional and personal life. Wherever you go, there are rules, and you're governed by the use of the networks in the college. You'll be governed by the professional body. When you graduate, you'll be in the public eye. People will see you. It would be incorrect of us to tell you that you can't do anything because you already are. But keep that professional identity forefront in your mind and remember the rules. Now, in the context of Dublin, RCSI Dublin, I can say that, and in Bahrain and Penang, you will have signed a user agreement either on paper or as when you logged into Moodle, and this really constitutes how you behave on the network wherever you are. This is a pretty standard agreement, so your email account belongs to the college, as does mine, and we are bound to use it as a work-related tool. In Dublin, and I'm sure in Bahrain and Penang, social media is managed by staff, but we're not monitoring your use of social media, but inappropriate content will be chased up. And of course, we're looking for fair disclosure, fair play, and we're asking people to be respectful and reasonable when they're using it. If you have any concerns about any of this, talk to a member of staff and they'll be glad to talk to you, and a conversation can ensue and we'll find the best solution. So, in summary for this lecture, think, this is really important, how much do you use social media, and what do you say, when do you say it, and the services you use, are they configured correctly for your privacy settings? Have a look at yourself online. Google, go and take a look, see what's out there. How do you want to present yourself professionally? You are now a student, a healthcare professional, a student of this organisation. You will need to present yourself as such. Students will already be thinking about developing a research profile, a professional interest profile, all those kind of things. Think before you post, because your patients will Google you too. Don't ever forget that one. That's really crucial. What would you do? You'd look somebody up. You want a recommendation. You need to know what's going on. And please, if you could read the recommended PDFs, as I say, I don't want people to understand them fully, not to be able to recite them, but they need to be aware of the main topics and threads in those articles. Thank you very much.